right, you're listening to WYXR 91.7 FM Memphis.
Good morning, everyone. This is Bishop Phoebe Roaf of the Episcopal Diocese of West Tennessee, and welcome to Faithfully Memphis. This will be an opportunity each week for me to share a little bit about the church and also to interview local and regional guests to learn about how the role of faith works in their lives. The Episcopal Diocese would like to thank the Daily Memphian and the University of Memphis for inviting us to be a part of this program. We are so excited about this. And so the first segment of the show is actually going to be Lesser Feasts and Fasts to discuss saints. Now, you might ask the question, what is a saint? Well, saints are basically ordinary people who have done extraordinary things. And people such as Mary, the mother of Jesus, or the Apostle Paul, who wrote many of the books in the New Testament, are saints you may be familiar with. But did you know that every week on the church calendar, there are other folks who we honor for their contributions to the church? And this week, I would like to tell you a little bit about a saint named William Tyndale. William Tyndale was actually a priest in England in the late 1400s. And he could speak 7 languages and was proficient in ancient Hebrew and Greek. The thing that William Tyndale was so passionate about was allowing regular, ordinary folks to be able to read the Bible in their own language. This is something that you and I may take for granted. But back in those days, there were very few people who could read Latin, which was a language that the Bible was written in. And Bibles were also extremely expensive to make and to have. So very few people owned Bibles. Almost no one could understand the Latin. And so you basically had to rely upon whatever your priest or your bishop told you in terms of interpreting Scripture. Well, William felt that everybody should be able to read the Bible for himself or herself and make their own decision. So he did the right thing, which was asked his bishop for permission. And his bishop was the Bishop of London. He asked the Bishop of London if he could actually translate the New Testament from Latin into English. And guess what? The bishop said no. So one lesson that we learned from the story of William Tyndale is that bishops can make mistakes too. We are not always right. The bishop denied his request. Also, King Henry VIII and the Archbishop were not happy about this. So William ended up leaving England, going to different countries, and in the year 1525, he was responsible for translating the first edition of the New Testament from Greek, actually, into the English language. Now, the people were really happy about this, but unfortunately, the authorities were not. For 9 years, he was able to continue translations, revising the New Testament, and he actually began translating the Old. But then someone betrayed him, and he was actually handed over to the authorities in 1536 for the work that he had done to translate the Bible. He was bound to a cross. He was then strangled and burned alive. So there was a significant price that he paid for taking his passion to have people understand Scripture in their own language and allow people to decide for themselves how they wanted to interpret Scripture. However, his translations did not go to waste, because nearly a century later, when the King James Version of the Bible, which many of us are familiar with, was done, in 8 out of 10 times, the folks who were working on that agreed that Tyndale had done a fabulous translation. And so much of his translation ended up going into the King James Version of the Bible. So we want to remember William Tyndale for his efforts at making the Bible, which had been only confined to a few folks able to read and interpret it, to something that we really take for granted at this point, which is all of us can easily read the Bible, not only in English, but in any language known to mankind. I believe the Bible is one of the most translated books in history. And the beginning of the process of getting it into the hands of everyday, ordinary people began with William Tyndale. So each week, we will be exploring a different saint so that we can all learn about men and women who have had a significant influence on the church. Now, before we move to the next segment of the program, after all, WYXR is all about music. I thought what I would do is take an opportunity today to play a few songs for you, either contemporary Christian songs or spirituals or hymns that are meaningful for me. So now we'll just randomly pick one of these songs that I have selected and allow you to listen to some good music.
I've got so much to thank God for. So many wonderful blessings and so many open doors. A brand new mercy within new day. That's why I praise you. And for this, I give you praise. For waking me up this morning. That's why I praise. For starting me on my way. For letting
That's it. Worship the Lord tonight. Worship Him. Come on, He's brought you over some mountains. Come on, tell Him thank you. Come on, tell Him thank you. That's it. Let's worship the Lord. He desires our praise tonight. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Bless your name.
You brought me over for every trial. I know it was you see me through. For every lie. I sing hallelujah, hallelujah. For this I give you praise.
All right. I hope that you all were able to enjoy that very uplifting song by Carr, For Every Mountain. It is certainly a song that has sustained me over the years. So now I have the pleasure of bringing on my guest for my very first show. In a sense, this is a guest who needs no introduction, but I will give you a little bit of his background. In 1993, he was drafted with the 8th pick of the first round of the draft by the New Orleans Saints. He played for 9 years for the Saints and then 4 seasons for the Chiefs as left tackle. During his professional football career, he was an 11-time Pro Bowler and a 9-time All-Pro. He was a member of the NFL's all-decade teams for the 1990s and the 2000s, and he was elected and enshrined in the NFL Professional Football Hall of Fame in 2012. He's probably known to you as number 77, but to me, he is known as my little brother. So I'm so happy to welcome Willie Roaf to the show. Willie, can you say something? Are you here?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Excellent.
Great. I've been trying to talk to you the whole time, but I'm glad everything's working out, and I'm thankful to be on the first show.
Excellent. Excellent. So there's so many things that we can talk about. And actually, this is a really interesting experience because I have never interviewed you before. This is a first, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. So, of course, I've got lots of memories about childhood myself, but I'm wondering, when you think back to our childhood in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, on Bonnie Park Drive, what are some of the happy memories that come to your mind?
Just the family dynamic we had with our parents, and enjoying life as a kid, and especially when mom would be home on the weekend and having those get-togethers and the family dinners, and a lot of good memories of going to Grace Episcopal Church and being involved in the church was great memories, and especially being out in the yard playing when I started playing unorganized sports right beside the house.
Yes, that's true. Now, I also remember you and Andrew getting in a lot of trouble over the years, but maybe that's just because I was the bossy big sister.
Yes, we did get in a lot of trouble,
Yep.
as a lot of kids do. We were rambunctious kids, but we had a great family dynamic, and I wouldn't change anything. And I do remember all the trips we would get in the car and drive to Virginia, and how we would love to go to Virginia for the summer, but we would be excited to come back home and play with our friends at the end of the summer.
Exactly. And I think we were really fortunate. As I look back on it, the first 5 years of my life, the family lived in Washington, D.C., and that's where our maternal grandparents lived. You weren't born yet. But then when we moved to Arkansas, we lived in the same town as our paternal grandparents. So we really had great relationships and grew up being shaped and influenced by all four of our grandparents. And that's sort of amazing when you think about it, isn't it?
It is amazing, and it's great you bring that up. The fact that we got to travel and do a lot of things in our whole life, especially growing up. Because I was talking to Mark Bradley, Danny Bradley's son, who played in the NFL, and he was talking about how when he left and went to Oklahoma, him not leaving Pine Bluff and being, in that bubble most of his childhood was very frightening for him to want to leave. And I think the fact the way we were raised was great, because that showed us, and we got to travel a lot to see other places and do other things. So leaving Arkansas and branching out wasn't as difficult, where it may seem very difficult to other people to do that.
Yeah, that's a great point, because every summer we would load up. First it was that brown station wagon, and then it was the blue station wagon, loaded up with the cooler with sandwiches and chips and drinks, and Mom and Dad would put the four of us in there, and we would always take off for somewhere really fun.
Yes, we would.
Yeah. So now, you mentioned growing up at Grace Episcopal Church in Pine Bluff, and we also were shaped by our father's faith tradition, Indiana Street Missionary Baptist Church. What do you think some of the lessons that you learned from the religious household that we grew up in that you continue using even to this day? For me now, it's more understanding the word more and reading more. But, having, the structure and God at the forefront of your life is very important. At some points in your life, with a lot of people, maybe you slip away and you have to come back home. But when you grow up with that, and then seeing our grandfather in the pulpit in the Anabaptist Street Church, and all our family and Dad's family went to that church, and then going to the Episcopal side, I think we got a taste of both worlds. But, having God at the forefront of your life is very important. And that's what, like I said, when I was younger, I think in high school and stuff, he was more in the forefront, and maybe you, like I said, a lot of people stray away. And, when you have that in your life, that you eventually, hopefully you come back home and understand what's important, and putting those values in life, and any values you want to go to, and live by, they're all in the Bible. So anything that you want to understand in life, Phoebe, it's all in the Bible. So it is. Yeah. When you have that foundation, it's something that is always deep within you. And I hope that, the listeners will know that every single person is on a journey with the Lord, right? I'm hoping that my relationship with God today, now that I'm in my 50s, and Willie, you've now got a 5 in front of your number, right? Yeah. You're in the 50s club too, is different than when I was a teenager or in my 20s or in my 30s. So it's actually not, my understanding is it's not a negative thing to the Lord as we go through these different twists and turns and even trials and tribulations. One of the amazing and awesome things about the Lord that we serve is he's a God of second chances, third chances, fourth chances. Like, there's nothing that we can do to make God stop loving us. And God is always standing with outstretched arms, wanting to welcome us back home. I know sometimes in my faith journey, I've been the one to feel like, wow, I've really screwed up so badly. I'm not even sure if I can return home to the church. And I wonder if you've ever had that feeling, Willie, as you've gone through, your faith journey over the years.
I don't think I've ever gotten to the point where I didn't think I could return. I just felt like that I wasn't living my life in the manner that I should have been. And you feel ashamed when you feel like you're not doing what you should be doing and living the way you should be. And like you said, even people that are in the prison system, look at Saul before he became Paul. I mean, he was killing Christians. So for even inmates that have idea that they can't return, and I mean, that was a great story you did about William telling what happened to him. And I was looking at, when you were telling the story, I was looking him up and reading about him.
Yeah.
I was wondering why he died so young. I was like, he died at 42, and then I saw what happened to him. So there's a lot of people that made a lot of sacrifices for us to get to where we are now in life in general. And I'm just thankful that my football career went great, but I'm at another chapter, and I will, Phoebe. I mean, a lot of people say they want to go back. But, I want to embrace where we are in life now. I'm more mature. I'm wiser at 50, so I wouldn't say I wouldn't change anything, but I want to embrace the chapter we're at in life and keep going and trying to be a better person and like you said, try to honor God first in the way I walk now. And that's what I try to do. And I have a wife, Angela, that holds me to a higher standard, and I have to try to, stay at that standard every day.
Yep. The Lord has definitely blessed you in your many ventures. And I think the Lord has given you a great life partner to be with, to support you, to encourage you, to stretch you, to challenge you. I think that's really great. So I wanted to move on actually to talk a little bit about football. Obviously, you were very successful in your career as an offensive lineman. And I wondered, first of all, who was a mentor to you, or who kind of took you under his wing and showed you the ropes when you were just starting out in your career? Do you have any memories of guys who really stepped forward and helped you, nurtured you?
Well, one of them that really was, it's interesting you bring this up, is a guy that I think he might be from Memphis, Richard Cooper. You remember Big Cooper?
I do.
He was the left tackle when I got there. Then I went to left, and he moved to right after my rookie year. And Richard and I lived around the corner from each other. I really looked up to him, and I saw he was a starter the first NFL game I went to the year before when he was starting at left tackle, and Wayne Martin's agent flew me down to New Orleans. So Richard Cooper was a guy that I really looked to. Obviously, I played beside Derek Kennard my rookie year, who was a real good player and been in the league a long time. He went on to play for Dallas, and he was a guy that I looked up to. I only played 1 year with him. But then when I moved to left tackle, the guy that I saw was a consummate pro that really his film study and work ethic and being up there at the facility early every day was Jim Dombrowski, who was a real good player from the University of Virginia, and he was just a consummate pro for those 3 years that I played beside him. And when I played beside him and I had that continuity, that's when I, like you said, started having a couple all-pro seasons the next 2 years after my rookie year. So I'll say those three guys, as far as a relationship with the more personal relationship, it was Richard Cooper from played at the University of Tennessee and was a D lineman that switched to O lineman in the league.
Wow.
But he's a Memphis guy. So back then, a lot of the more athletic guys were defensive linemen. So a lot of teams would switch defensive linemen, offensive linemen to train them how to play offensive tackle.
Got it. Wow. So as you think back to a really successful career, what are the basic skills or, traits that you think are necessary to be a top offensive lineman?
A very good question. You need to have, for normal fans listening, very good feet and hands, quick twitch muscle fiber, explosion in the hips. You have to have the explosion. What a lot of people underestimate is having long arms. If you have longer arms, that really helps you, especially at the left tackle position. when I got to Kansas City, and that's what was kind of hurting John Tate. He was taller than me, but he had shorter arms, and it kind of hurt him at the tackle position because a lot of those guys have real long arms, and they get their hands on you and get their hands in your body. And I had problems with some guys like that. Sean Jones had long arms. The kid that reminds me of Sean Jones, Alden Smith, with Dallas, has those long arms. So, long arms, having good knee bend is a really essential, especially when the guys want to bulwark and get in your body. You have to be able to bend your knees, because if you can't bend your knees and slide your feet side to side, then you're gonna end up opening up your stance, and guys are gonna go around you faster. So having real good knee bend and being able to move laterally in a knee bent position is crucial with playing offensive tackle.
Wow. So now, obviously, the length of your arms is something that you cannot control. That's just what you're born with. But some of the other things that you mentioned in terms of, you said explosion off the hips and knee bends, are those traits that somebody could really practice and improve?
You can improve it with lifting, with the Olympic lifting, with the power clean, snatch. Some drills you can improve it with, but a lot of it, Phoebe, also is natural. I mean, the quick twitch muscle fiber and stuff that you would be born with is some of that is genetics, and you're gonna be born with it. But some of it you can improve with the quickness and the explosiveness with good coaching. But like you said, a lot of it is a blessing from above, and is something that you've been blessed with.
Yeah, well, you really hit the genetic lottery, if you might think about it, because both of our grandfathers were very strong athletic men, and even our great grandfathers, as I understand it, Grandpa Layton's father and Grandma Layton's father played tennis in the black tennis circuit, in the early 1900s. So we really come from a line of great athletes. Unfortunately, I would say of the four of us, of you, Mary, Andrew, and myself, I got the least amount of athletic ability. You got it all.
And if you think about what tennis is. You have to be able to move side to side very quickly.
That's
when that
true.
ball is coming in different directions. So your lateral movement is very important when being an excellent tennis player. If you don't have good lateral movement, you're not going to be very good at tennis.
That's a great point. I hadn't even thought about that or made that connection. Wow. So all of that exercising by our grandparents, great-grandparents kind of got poured into you, so you had that as a base. But of course, we know over the years the many hours and hours and hours of hard work that you put in. So I want to move to a slightly different topic. We are in the midst of several pandemics, right? We have this global pandemic of coronavirus, and we certainly want to remember all of the many folks who have died around the world. As I understand it, more than 210,000 Americans have died from this COVID-19. Our prayers certainly go out to everybody who is suffering from this horrible virus, including our president and first lady. We also have the pandemic of the systemic racial injustice in our country. And the third pandemic is this ecological crisis, between the fires out in the West to the hurricane season. Louisiana is facing another hurricane, and they've gone through all the alphabets for, names, and now they're on the Greek alphabet because they ran out of all the, first letters of names. And so I wonder, Willie, how are you, as a former professional athlete with a platform, have you used your voice as part of the broader conversation about any of these things happening in our nation?
A very good question. And I would say the storms, like you said, because of the weather are picking up. We've been very fortunate on the outer region of the ocean out here. to not have any hit outside. They've all been going inward, in through New Orleans and Texas and that way. So we've been fortunate to not have anything other than tropical storm. As far as COVID is concerned, I have had a platform for that. I have gotten the COVID virus in the middle of August. Yeah. I can't speak and say that I just went and saw my doctor yesterday because I was going to do labs around August 18th when I had a head cold and felt very lethargic on a Tuesday, and he put me out the office. I went straight to urgent care, got the swab done up my nose, which is one that is more accurate than doing the rapid test. And by that Thursday, they had told me I was positive. Mm-hmm. You know, if you hear what the president people are talking, when I did test positive, they just told us to take over-the-counter stuff. And I guess if I had gotten worse, you know, to the point where, you can't breathe or different issues, then I guess I would have just gone to the hospital. So thankfully, by God's grace, I was able to, I had a slight fever and I dealt with it for the rest of that week and through the weekend. And by that next week, I was starting to feel better. And then Angela got sick, and her symptoms were different than mine. And I have a very healthy wife, and she was coughing and had some burning sensation in her chest. And hers lasted about a week. And I will tell you that it is serious. And we got plenty of rest. I was sleeping from 10, 11 till 8 in the morning. I would get up before hours and have to lay back down. I mean, my body was very tired. And at the end of it, that's what I had during the middle of it. That's when you had the issue with the taste and not having your taste buds. And we were probably eating one meal a day. Wow. You didn't feel like eating. So that might have been a good thing, Phoebe, for me, but so I did. So I won't say anything about that, but it was very serious. I was nervous. Yeah, I did have a slight temperature, but when your body, you have a weird feeling. This virus, it's like the virus is trying to figure out ways to get in your body more. That's what it felt like. It feels like it's trying to figure some way out. It doesn't want to go away. Normally, if I had gotten something like a head cold, which is what it started, you get cold for a couple of days, and you shake it off and you're better. But no, this lasted for 4 or 5 days, and I felt like I couldn't shake it. And then you're like, well, this doesn't seem normal, and when is it going to end? Right. I know that certainly everybody in the family was praying, a lot when you and Angela both came down with COVID, thinking about some of the things I've read about. We are sort of a large family, the Roaf side and the Layton side. We're some big people. And they say that if you're larger and carrying a little extra weight, that could make you more susceptible. So thinking about, you being a larger man because of all the years you played in the league, we were really just praying that you too would successfully get through it. And we're really glad that you did. So yeah, and I know you did a little video that you put on social media, I think on Instagram and maybe Facebook, once you had gotten through that. So what do you think about this whole question of all the racial injustice? And I wonder, as you think about that issue, what is it about your faith that leads you to be upset about what's happening in our nation right now? I just feel like I just feel like we should all be held. The human life should be held to a higher standard, and we're all here on this earth to live our life in the best way we can. And the Creator is gonna be the judge of when we should leave. And I just feel like that there should be a higher account for people's lives in this country and in this world. And I feel like that sometimes I feel like people's lives aren't valued, and that's very upsetting to me to see or have that type of feeling. with what's going on. I mean, if there's the way you don't have to use lethal force,
right,
or if somebody's walking away from you and they're not doing anything, I don't feel like lethal force needs to be used. So I just think there needs to be reforms in the way you teach policing and the way you teach interaction. And, I understand that sometimes people are going to, act out or be a little, they're on edge right now. So the people don't need to stoke what's going on with the police. But I just feel like that people's lives need to be appreciated more. And that goes along with each us, how we treat each other. And I would like to give my condolences to Kevin Smith, who I've heard, Phoebe, I don't know if you know the story, was a great young man. He worked at the church. He was 35, the officer that got killed in Pine Bluff, our hometown, and he didn't even get out his police car. He didn't even have a wife. He didn't have a family yet. 35 years old, didn't have his life taken so senselessly. So it works both ways, but I think we're at a crossroads, Phoebe, in this world, and if you can't see the message and understand that it's time for all of us to our faith to increase substantially in this country, and I don't know what other signs you need to see, but what's going on right now.
Yeah, the writing's kind of on the wall, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So in the middle of all of this, I wonder, as we begin to wrap up, a few more questions. How are you functioning and living in the world today without giving into despair or a sense of hopelessness? I guess maybe another way of asking it is, what gives you joy right now?
What gives me joy, is Phoebe, is going out in the community, interacting with people, and seeing people be nice to each other and treating each other nice. Going out and doing, maybe seeing somebody and having a conversation with a stranger and maybe saying some helpful things or something about the word. Mm-hmm. And just the interaction with people on a daily basis. When I see that people, white, black, or whatever race area, that they're out here everyday life and they're treating each other nice. I mean, that's what I like to see, and it's not always going to be perfect, but me interacting with people, and you interact with people on a daily basis from all different faiths, religions, and seeing people that are being nice and trying to do the right thing is what gives me hope. And we have an election coming up, and we don't have to get into politics, but I think it's a very important election in our history, maybe the most important. And I want to tell everybody to get out here and vote, and everybody votes counts, and it's important for us to vote. And like I said, my deal has always been, you want to treat people how you want to be treated. So regardless of your economic status or gender or whatever your situation is, we need to, try to be nice and be cordial with everyone. And that's it. I just want to, and try to impact. I try to go out here and be nice regardless of the situation where I'm at. And so people understand that, I don't care if you support Trump or Biden or whoever, that's your personal belief, but that doesn't mean that should change your whole attitude or perspective against other races.
Yeah. I think you made so many good points. Number one, we do want to encourage everybody to exercise your constitutional right to go out and vote. And when I think about it, I don't miss an election because people died for me to be able to vote. So I take that sacrifice very seriously. And the other thing is, Americans have always had lots of different opinions, beliefs, and thoughts. But it's almost like today, if you're from a different political party, you see the other person as the enemy. So I really hope that just as Americans, regardless of who wins the election in November, we can really begin to focus on coming together as a nation, on all of the things that unite us. I mean, we are Americans, regardless of whether you're red or blue. And I love what you said about regardless of your background, treating everybody the same. I would say as a Christian, to put it in a theological term, all of us are equal at the foot of the cross. All of us have sinned and have fallen short. All of us are in need of God's grace and compassion and mercy. So I can't make myself superior to you or anybody else. I may not have done your sin, but I certainly have done something. So when I think about it in that way, it kind of helps me stay humble and not think I'm better than other people.
Agreed. And like you said, I think it's very important. And, a lot of stuff that's happened, especially with during this time, and a lot of good things are coming out, but a lot of bad things are coming out, and you really kind of see, I'd rather see your true identity than not see it. So
that's true. That's true.
Like you said, I think it should be a lot of soul searching, and I just hope that this, like you said, after this election, it brings people closer together. Maybe it won't bring everybody closer together, but I hope it brings a lot of people closer together.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
So I have one last question for you, which is, who is your favorite athlete in any sport?
Right now?
Right now.
I'd have to say LeBron James, and I'm looking forward to him winning his fourth title, and
with three teams. Three teams.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. And the way he conducts himself, and the way he outside the court, the way he's helped with the youth, and goes back to Akron and gives bikes, and is helping with the voter registration. I just think I'm so glad that he had this. To see what him being on the cover of Sports Illustrated and at 16 and the pressure he had on him, and the man he's become, and the way he conducts himself. And, he really, a lot of athletes didn't want to get out there and be political one way or another. And, at this day and age, we have to do it now. So I'd have to say LeBron for the way he's conducted himself, and looking forward to seeing him win another title.
That's great. Well, look, Willie, thank you so much for being my first guest and for sharing your thoughts about faith and your job as an athlete and the state of things in the world. And of course, we're praying that God is just going to continue to bless you in your ministry in Florida. So stay safe, and we will talk soon. And I think at this point, we're going to transition into another one of my favorite songs.
All right, y'all have a great day.
happy day. When Jesus wore. Oh, when he wore. When Jesus wore. He washed my sins away. Oh, happy day.
And we're back at Faithfully Memphis. So the next segment of the show is something called Stump the Bishop. And there will be an opportunity on social media via the Episcopal Diocese of West Tennessee's Facebook page or Instagram. If there's a question that you would like to ask a bishop that you've never been able to ask, just submit it. And we will have a different question every week. So the question for this week is, what is the season of Advent about? Now, the Episcopal Church is a liturgical church, which means that there are various church seasons over the course of the year. And while our secular calendar begins on January 1st, the new year of the church begins in late November, if you are part of a liturgical church community. And that would be with the season of Advent. The season of Advent is typically a 4-week period prior to Christmas, where you get prepared for the coming of God in human form by the birth of Jesus Christ. So Advent is a season of waiting, a season of longing, a season of expectation. And so that will be the next major season of the church calendar at the end of November. The colors of Advent tend to be blue or purple, and purple is the color of royalty. So it's a symbol that God is coming as the royal one in human form. And it's a wonderful opportunity to think about the longing and the preparation and the anticipation of Mary and Joseph as they were preparing for the baby to be born, but also the entire world looking forward to this momentous event, which was God incarnate, God coming among us in human form, Emmanuel, God with us. So that is the basic format of this show, Faithfully Memphis. I definitely want to thank my team of PR and communications folks at the diocese, and also here at WYXR for help. YXR for helping us get this first show off the ground. You know, I'm not someone who has a professional background in radio, and so this is a new experience for me. But I'm hoping that the conversations that we will be able to have every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. will allow you to see folks who have some sort of a public presence in a different light by specifically focusing on the role of faith or their belief in a higher power in their own lives. And so next week's show, my special guest will be Kanji Anthony. She is the anchor at WMC Action 5 News here in Memphis. Kanji was also the first person that I did a television interview with in the process of my becoming consecrated as the fourth bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of West Tennessee. And so I thought it would be a lot of fun for Kanji and me to turn the tables. And so I will be interviewing Kanji next Thursday morning. So between now and then, my brothers and sisters, stay safe and stay positive.
This is Joe Restivo, and I'm listening to WYXR 91.7 FM Memphis.
This is the Early Word Morning News Update. For Mary Cacciola, I'm Natalie Van Gundy. Today is Thursday, October 8th, and the Memphis River Parks Partnership is hosting a virtual meeting for the public to see updated schematic designs for Tom Lee Park. And nearby, there's unplugged live music tonight as part of the downtown dinner and music series on South Main Street, starting at 5. With large companies seeing the risks involved in bringing the majority of their employees back to the office too early, some have resigned themselves to sheltering in place until next spring or summer and keeping employees working from home until then. What about our largest Memphis area companies?